to order, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any visitors or delegations who would like to address the board this evening? So, Jackie, we know you, but please state your name for the minutes, and then every speakers, we are welcome to speak for 2 minutes.
Is it on now?
Well done.
Jackie Nickum, City of River Falls. The reason I'm here is I noticed on our agenda this evening that one of the items is approve the purchase of a CNC router for the Renaissance Academy Technology Program. $37,000 for that woodworking router. And I wish I had been at probably the Finance Committee. I'm guessing that that's the meeting that it would have been discussed, because I'm just wondering how many students actually use the router for $37,000. And hopefully I'll find out some of that information in the meeting tonight, maybe not. But anyway, since, let me see, our inflation over the last 3.5 years has gone up 20%. So people like me on fixed incomes, we look at spending perhaps a little differently than some government employees. Just going to say that. Anyway, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Would anyone else like to address the board this evening? All right, then we are going to move on. And our first informational item is a spotlight on education, and we are featuring the Summer Kids Club folks.
Well, my name is Angela Bonert, and I am the director of Kids Club. I want to thank Superintendent Bell for inviting me to speak tonight, and our school board liaison, Lindsay Curtis, for coming for a tour this summer and encouraging me that if I ever got invited to speak, that I should show up and speak. So here I am. Public speaking is not my forte, but here I am, and it's a lot to put into 10 minutes. But I also have Kelly Bro and Clover Stevens, who are site managers for Kids Club. They're also paraprofessionals in the district, so their school year Kids Club hours are limited, but summer they are full-time with me. So I've got a lot to say in 10 minutes, so here we go. So here's some history of Kids Club. Sometimes people don't understand that Kids Club has been around a while. School year Kids Club actually started in 1992. The records that I looked for summer were a little bit more hazy, but I did find some records back to 2006, so we're going with that. So again, we've been around a long time. Excuse me. This chart kind of shows our progression over the years of how our numbers at Kids Club have grown, up to last year, where we had last summer, which we had 434 students in our summer program, 35 on our wait list, and 15 to 20 families every year don't make it into our program and choose not to stay on our wait list, primarily the grade levels that we know probably are not going to make it into the program. The next slide, overview. This is kind of the hours of operation. Our two main rates that our parents use the most. We have a couple other ones. Our program tends to run 8 to 9.5 weeks. It's solely based on when school year lets out for the school year, and when new teacher orientation starts. We cannot be in the building until all the teachers obviously are out of their classrooms. And at the end of the summer, we are really cognizant of how much time it takes for the custodial staff to turn over the spaces that we are in. So we put our calendar in between there. Excuse me. Our program is a 4-day setup program. Our first day is move in. We actually rent Penske moving trucks, and then my staff go building to building to load up art carts, craft carts, all our cabinets from manipulatives and games, all of the furniture that we put into our kindergarten and first grade classrooms, which are tables and chairs, and then the shed behind the high school, we have a portion of that, and that's coolers and games and puzzles and little stools for them to use at the sinks in the bathrooms and you name it. Then our second day is kind of an on-site building orientation and training. Our third day in the morning is a mock field trip where a bus comes. Our staff goes through all the protocols of how to get ready for a field trip, what happens on a field trip, when they come back from a field trip. In the afternoon is our health training. Terry Anderson isn't here tonight, but she's our health aide, and Karen Brandvold is our district nurse. They come in, they talk about general summer health needs like bee stings, overheating, things like that. Then they go classroom to classroom and talk to each classroom grade level of what their particular needs are in that grade level, making sure that my staff really know what is coming into their classroom. And then the last day is finalizing setup. And then this last summer, we added an open house so that the kids can come in and meet their teacher, find their classroom, find their locker, get their T-shirt, turn in health aids, turn in medications, and ask any last-minute question. We literally, since, as you saw the numbers, we move in an elementary school in 4 days, and everything that we need to make that work. The other thing we're really cognizant of is that we are a very large impact on the high school, take up a lot of space. Sorry. Got my Diet Coke. We try to really lessen our impact on the building, which means over the last couple of years. Thank you.
Teamwork.
That's how we survive summer. Anyway, so the last few years, we have taken on more and more of our own custodial duties to lessen the impact on the custodians. So we clean our own rooms, vacuum, take out garbage, the common areas that we are in, the bathrooms that are near the area that we reside in, the locker bay as much as we can with 300 kids moving in and out of it every day. And then at the end of the summer, we do what's called a room flip. So the custodians come in and say, and by the end of July, early August, hey, we have to start room flipping. We say, okay, 1 or 2 grade levels we bring out of the classroom into overflow rooms. They come in, change light bulbs, clean baseboards, clean walls, maybe paint chipped, paint walls that are chipped, things like that. Then we go back in for the last couple weeks. So at the end of the summer, all they have to do is like shampoo carpets and kind of a little bit deeper clean. And then so when we do our checklist out, they're pretty ready to go. So that we try to do what we can. This is a look at our summer weekly calendar. This happens to be the K through 3rd calendar. We also have a 4th through 7th, but it kind of gives you a snapshot that every morning a younger and an older grade are going to a park, another grade level is going to the library. In the afternoon, a grade level goes to a park and playground, and then a grade level goes to the pool, either in Ellsworth or here at Glen Park. Tuesdays and Thursdays are our field trip days. We go everywhere from 1 to 3 field trips on average on a particular day based on how many students they can take. Our program is pretty large. I think we might have even done a 4-day one, but I don't know. That's kind of a crazy site. But anyway, like Falls Theater, they accommodated us with 2 time slots during the day, so they take half in the morning, half in the afternoon. Because they are local, our summer school kids can also go on that one. Thursday is an example where there's a K1, 2, 3, and then there'd be a 4 through 7th class out somewhere. Friday ends with our kinders at the splash pad, and then they can get a small treat in an ice cream truck that comes every Friday because every student needs an ice cream truck on a Friday afternoon. And my staff doesn't turn it down either, so it's kind of a good way to end the week. Sorry, get back one more. This is kind of a list of what we support locally. Obviously, we also have like Crystal Cave, places like that. The one I kind of want to highlight is Grow to Share. We have a collaboration with them that we brought on probably 4 years ago now, where their staff writes us a curriculum for our 4th graders on Wednesday morning, and then a bus takes them over there. They pick produce from the garden, either for them to do something with or the local food pantry or both, and then they either journal, make a recipe, or have some type of knowledge that they learned from the garden, and they've really enjoyed that. We've also implemented the school forest the last couple of years, so there's that. This is a list of everywhere we went this summer. Some of the places we actually went through twice. This summer was particularly challenging with the amount of rain we got, with last-minute cancellations and having to redo 4 field trips in June, which was a little crazy. But anyway, and then some pictures of our favorite places. And like it says, we on average ran, I think, 7,000 miles worth of bus miles, so it's a lot. Some of the services we offer is every morning, every student can get a cold breakfast of assorted items. We average between 75 and 80 on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 100 to 120 on a Tuesday, Thursday, our field trip days. And then we serve a snack every afternoon, including field trip days. Again, our health aide is Terry Anderson. She does a fabulous job, and she meets with every one of our families one-on-one that have any type of health need. We have had years where we've had 2. If our needs are really great on a field trip, then we send one everywhere that we need one. The district does obviously offer summer school and summer enrichment. We want to make sure that students can go there, but still have care. So we have a bus that comes to and from Summer Kids Club. Last summer, we had about 76 kids that took advantage of that program. If it's a field trip day and our field trip is too far away in timing for them to go, then I have stay-back staff that are at the high school, and that averaged between 50 and 65 students, and then they do games, activities, projects, and things like that. The other thing that parents sometimes ask us is that, do we have a private space, and to figure out a time in their student's schedule for them to have some type of service, whether that's tutoring, social services, counseling, psych services. We try to make that happen so there's not a disruption in those services throughout their child's year. So, school year budget, I tried to just bring out summer, but because we start planning in January, all spring, all summer, and then invoicing and staffing goes into September, maybe even early October, I just gave you the whole year. The percentages are pretty much the same regardless of school year and summer. The majority of our money is spent on staffing. So state statute is that I could have 1 staff to every 18 students. Kindergarten, 1 to 16. I do not do that. Safety is our #1 priority, and it's summer and we're at pools and parks and playgrounds, so my kindergarten staff is 1 to 6. 1 to 5 if we involve water. First grade, obviously 1 to 7, 8. Even my middle schoolers are probably 1 to 10, 14 at the tops, and that's if we're going to one enclosed location. So that's where our money goes. Going forward, the only real concern that Kids Club has is that we have storage of our items, obviously, throughout the entire district, and as referendum changes have come through and just needs of the district, those spaces have slowly disappeared. So I am in talks with the Buildings and Ground Director, Joe Hazelman, about what to do with that as we go forward. For example, like the new furniture that's going in the rooms, once that goes in, obviously our tables and chairs can't be in those classrooms, so they'll end up us needing to find space for that. So that's something we are going to be challenged with here going forward. This last slide is just fun facts, like our average daily attendance, our ice cream treats, the bottles of sunscreen we go through, because all we do, if you ask my staff, they just think all they do is put on sunscreen, and so that is what they do. There is a link to our Kids Club webpage that has like frequently asked questions, our handbook. So if you have another question, you can sure look on that. Next February, our summer calendar for next year will be on there, but otherwise you can always ask me or any of my staff. But I just want to thank you tonight, and I know that was fast and furious, but we do a lot in the summer, and again, I thank David Bell and Lindsay for inviting us here, because I don't think anyone really knows what we do in the summer. So thank you.
I have to say that last picture with the child, absolutely sound asleep on the bench. It tells a lot.
We tire them out. So.
But the other thing is, there are many important things that really set us apart as a school district, and this is one of them. It's clearly a program that meets the needs of families by supporting their children in the summer. It sounds to me like they are both learning and exploring and developing relationships, which is
at the core of childhood. So thank you very much. And
you.
to Clover and Kelly for your work and support of this program for our kids and families. So thank you, and thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right, we are now going to move into reports, and it is our good fortune to have our new student representative here this week with us, or starting this year. Her name is Addison Reisdorfer, and I will remind people of why we have a student here. We have it for really two reasons. First of all, it's a very good reminder that everything that we do as a school board is focused on students and students' well-being. So that's a reminder for us. It also is a good chance for you to be able to bring insights about being a student to the school board. And it's a chance for you to be able to learn and experience leadership. And perhaps someday you will then serve your community on a board as well. So thank you for being here, and I understand that you're going to introduce yourself so that we can get to know you.
Hi, my name is Addie Reisdorfer, and I am currently a senior at River Falls High School. I am the president of Student Council, and I'm also involved in NHS and athletic leadership. In addition, I play soccer for both school and my club team. I'm passionate about representing the students on the school board because I believe that it's important. I believe in the importance of being an active participant in our school's community, and I would like to ensure that every student's voice is heard and considered in the decision-making process. Recently at River Falls High School, we celebrated Homecoming Week by not only celebrating school spirit, but also giving back to the community. We hosted a food drive raising nearly $2,000 in donations, and the event was a resounding success, showcasing the generosity and commitment of the students and staff of River Falls High School.
That's great. Thank you. Your connection with Student Council will be really important for us because we'll be able to, you'll be able to take some issues back, and then you can even bring issues to the board. So thank you. We look forward to working with you. All right, and now it is our superintendent who gets to give a report.
So the focus tonight is to talk a little bit about our strategic plan scorecard. I've talked a little bit about that in prior months and just wanted to review why we developed a scorecard. So the idea is it's a tool for us to track our progress on the goals that we set for the 22 to 27 strategic plan. It's good to have goals, but if you don't have a process to benchmark and track your progress on those goals, it's hard to know if you've really reached them. So the scorecard is focused on three big areas that I've also talked about before. One is academic growth, the second is student engagement, and the third is employee satisfaction. And when we set the targets for this, we ambitiously set them. So the idea is we believe that our students can achieve at high levels and be highly engaged, and this can be a great place to work. But if we fall short, so if we set high goals and we fall short, we're committed to identifying new lead measures that will drive change. So the idea is that this pursuit is ongoing and continuous, and we believe we can reach it. And if we're not reaching it, we're continuously aiming for that. And so you're going to see some critical performance indicators, and these are the measures of what we think are most important in the district. And this ties in specifically to the strategic plan in the areas of identifying and monitoring academic readiness benchmarks and some of our benchmarking against competitive salary and benefits for all staff. So the development, it wasn't me just sitting in my office and cranking this out. That wouldn't be a very effective plan. So starting in the spring of 2024, our administrative team started to do data analysis, looking at the first half of the strategic plan and kind of looking at what is coming forth as most important, and also stakeholder surveys. Over the summer, through data retreats, we started to organize that into specific themes. And then once everybody arrived back in the fall of 2024, school and departments prioritized and finished their goal development. We looked at high-performing districts when we were looking at our scorecard. So Elmbrook School District over by Milwaukee, Sun Prairie School District are a couple of examples of school districts that have a scorecard, and it is a connection for what the board work does, how our schools set goals, how our departments set goals. and they're also high-performing districts. So they also help kind of gauge where we want to be for our benchmarks. So three big topics. In your packet, you'll see my report, and then after my report is a summary of what the scorecard is. So you can follow along on either. So when we talk about LEARNs, we're talking about academic growth. We're talking about investment in college and career planning and supporting systems of support for every learner. So if there's struggles, we have a system of support for that. And so the critical performance indicators I would describe as being broken into two categories. The top four are the goals, the most critical goals, the wildly important goals that were set at each grade level. So at the kindergarten through fifth grade level, their most important goal is to have all of our readers be proficient using our reading screening assessment by 26-27. And so we will measure that 2 times this year and then 3 times over the remaining 2 years of the strategic plan. And
What are we at about now?
yeah, that's a good question. So because of Act 20, we had to change our reading screening assessment. So we want to use the same assessment in each benchmark here. So we'll have our first assessment in January. So that is the goal at the elementary level, and it's written in a way to identify basically 2 ways where we can hit it for each individual student. So this is really by student. And so one way that we can hit it is that they are proficient in reading. And so if they're not proficient in reading, then the expectation is that they would exceed their yearly growth goal. So if we have a child that for whatever reason is behind, we understand that it's important for them to reach that level of proficiency. And the only way that they can do that is to exceed their reading goal, their yearly growth goal. So we believe collectively at the elementary level that we can have all students be proficient in reading or over a period of time exceeding their growth goals to get back on target. And so that's an ambitious goal, but it's also a realistic goal. At Meyer Middle School, a big focus this year is switching to standards-based grading. And so learning is really prioritized by student, by standard. And so the goal is tied into that work in that each student will be recognized as proficient on priority standards in each content area as measured by an end-of-course cumulative assessment. And so starting halfway through the year, there'll be a mid-year assessment, and we will track that. We'll share that data with the board. At the end of this year, you'll see where they're at the end of 24-25, and then we will pick that up again in 25-26 and 26-27. So that's the middle school goal. At the high school, it's reading comprehension within each content area, and it's structured similar to the elementary school. So you're seeing students achieving reading comprehension expectations in each content area or showing at least 10% growth. And that will be measured by a common rubric assessment in each course. And so that allows every course to tailor the instruction and tailor the content of the reading comprehension exam to what that content is. But overarching, we're looking at the students' ability to read and comprehend that reading because we know that's so critically important to their success in whatever career path that they have. Same thing, we're looking at 100%, 2 options to get there, right? You're either at that level or you're exceeding growth expectations. Special education, we're looking for a specific special education goal around showing above average growth as measured by their growth percentile on the same universal reading screeners that I've been mentioning before. So we're pulling out that special education group and focusing on them as well. So those are kind of the wildly important goals that our teachers will be having lots of conversations about when they're designing curriculum or they're discussing student progress. And we think those are really important because they're very close to the work that they do on a day-to-day basis. But we also want to kind of benchmark that against some important lag data. And so the bottom 4 represent what that important lag data is. And so while we don't measure ourselves exclusively on school report cards, it's something that we do look at. And so there's two pieces of the school report card that we've pulled out here. The first is composite score, and that encompasses all elements of the school report card. So we're looking at academic achievement, growth, graduation readiness, and specific subgroups progress on those pieces. In addition, we also pulled out straight achievement because we see that as something that's critically important. So when we discuss how we would frame ourselves and how we would frame our growth, we wanted to pull out some pieces and say, well, we just don't want to say that we're above state average. We want to look at districts that are regionally and demographically comparable to us. And so these are high-performing districts in our area as well as throughout the state who compare to us from a demographic standpoint. So we think that's important when we compare ourselves. And so our goal is to be second or better when we compare ourselves to those districts. And the districts are listed below there: Hudson, Menominee, New Richmond, Monona Grove, West Superior, Pulaski. So those are districts that are about our same size, either geographically the same or demographically the same. We will know pretty soon where we sit for 23-24. And why it's grade above is because we're really starting that process in 24-25. But as early as in a couple of months at least, we'll be able to have the information on the lower pieces there, as well as ACT composite growth and percent of students taking and passing AP exams will be on there as well. So that's River Falls Learns. Are there any questions with that?
It's very good.
So River Falls Works, that's more that employee engagement piece. So we're really looking at creating a collaborative culture for our employees. So we're collectively understanding that we have high expectations for our student performance and then also high expectations for supporting them. And that starts with mentorship and coaching for our staff. It means creating a desirable place to be with regionally competitive salaries and benefits and a dedicated culture and climate. And so the things that we will measure ourselves against are employee retention rate. We were at about 79% at the end of last year, so that's why it says 79. I think Dr. Sherman will present something next month to see where we were at kind of into this year. So how did we retain last year as well? So we see that as a critical indicator. Our staff completes a survey each year, and we're looking for increased percentages of job satisfaction on that survey. We're looking to be with those same regional and demographically comparable school districts to be at second or better when we look at all of the groups. So not just a teacher group, not just a specific group, but all of our groups. We're tracking right at about 5th right now. Staff development, training, we want that to be, I'm going to start over. Staff feedback on effective training and professional development plans as measured by our job satisfaction survey will increase as well. So we're looking at that piece where if employees understand what the training that we're supposed to do, that when we plan that work, it's critically important. That our academic services group is taking that on. We see that as a critical indicator of success.
And just, I think I forgot, but
okay.
does that 85 mean that 85%, does that mean that 85% of the people who were surveyed agree or strongly agree?
Correct. And it's not just one question, it's a composite of a couple questions. Yep.
Okay.
Capital referendum projects will be completed aligned to plan within budget on schedule. We'll do monthly updates, but we think that this is obviously critically important to our district and including transparent communication is important too. So we'll give those updates as well. And then authentic collaboration will occur on scheduled collaboration dates within our building. So when we create a schedule, it's a tricky piece to find that time for teachers to collaborate. And so we want to make sure and hold ourselves accountable that the work that we're expecting to have happen is actually happening at that time. There's reasons why it might be canceled from here to there. The first week of school, we might not have collaboration. There might be a time or two besides that, but pretty much every time where there's collaboration time, it's focused on the things that we said it's focused on. So that's River Falls Works. And then River Falls Connects. This is kind of that engagement piece, right? So we want our students, most importantly, but also our community and parents to see us as a connected and supportive component to education. So the first piece is looking at chronically absent. We want to decrease our chronically absent students from 8.32% to 3%. And for the purpose of the scorecard, because chronically absent can mean lots of different things as defined in lots of different ways, we see it as a student who is gone for more than 10% of school days. And we count every absence as except medical. So just so we're kind of on the same page with what that looks like. 82% of students will participate in at least one co-curricular activity. That's a source of pride right now, and so we're looking for ways to maintain that and even increase it just a little bit. Parent connections, we think parent feedback is very important. The first round of our survey, or the last time that we did it, it was fairly positive at 83.4% for the questions that we see connected to that one. But that's something that you can't sleep on, right? So you have to continue to work on and improve on. We're looking at student opportunities for dual credit and dual courses, another source of pride, but looking for ways that we can grow that as well for students. Website accessibility is a goal of ours. We want to make sure our district website is updated so that 100% of our users have access to the program, services, and activities. And so that's a communications goal for us to make sure the website that we have is accessible. And then the final one is looking at community education satisfaction and increasing our scores by 10%. So at the end of each community education class, participants can fill out a form. We want to see those satisfaction scores increase. That's an indicator that we're offering the right classes, we're offering the right instructors, all of those pieces. So that's Connects. So the other piece with this is kind of for the school board to understand that we're not going to just like bring this up in September and then swing back sometime in July. It's important for us to bring this up on a regular basis. So at either a committee meeting or a full board meeting, we should see some element of how we're monitoring this scorecard each month. And so the last few months, we've been talking a little bit about what that could potentially look like. At the committee meetings, we saw each of those departments provide what their goals were and what their wildly important goals are. In October, the elementary team, they're excited that they get to go first. I can tell when we've talked about it that they're pretty jacked about that. But they will give a report on how they arrived at their wildly important goal and the lead measures, the commitments that they're making to prepare students to have success and reach or exceed that goal. And we will swing around and we will do that 3 times a year. And so we won't have data for October, but then the next time they speak, we'll have data. So it might be good data, it might be bad data, but you're going to see the data, and we're going to describe how we're responding to that data. And then Nate will talk a little about retention in October as well. And then in November, middle high school and the special education team will do the same thing with their report. And one thing we've talked about is, as a collective admin team, is creating a common template that we share with the board, so the board kind of understands the same process and can follow the work that we're doing, and it might hopefully be more efficient, but also lead to better questions. In December or even sooner, academic services can help me, we'll see some of that state assessment data, and we'll do a report on that, and obviously that's going to be critical for this piece. And then the rest of the scorecard is there. This will be important for us as we lead into the next couple of years. That might be it. I think that's it. Are there any questions?
I don't have a question.
Oh, we were going to say the same thing.
You go right ahead.
I don't have any questions at this time, but I just wanted to say I'm excited about this scorecard. I think it brings a great deal of accountability and structure and focus. Somehow you and your team have managed to dilute a tremendous amount of work and priorities into a very well thought out and organized scorecard and plan. So I think this is not just good for us as a school board, but I think this is really important for our entire community.
Yep.
And I'm excited to see this roll out and the conversations that will come from it.
Yep.
So
And
thank you to you and to the whole team that's been working on this.
Appreciate that. You made me think. It's on the website, so it's something that we can point to and make sure that people are aware of and follow along.
I agree with Lindsay. The only thing I was going to add is that I appreciate that administration took seriously the conversation that we had at a board retreat about how the board is eager to get reports, and that consistency, I see that baked into the schedule and the scorecard. So thank you very much on that. That will be helpful, I think, for all of our work. Anything else? Thank you to administrators. I know it was a group effort, so appreciate that. All right, we will move on to action items. So in front of the board tonight, we have meeting minutes from the August 19th regular Board of Education meeting. We have bills that have been submitted for payment, as well as recommendations regarding employment. So at this point, is there a motion to approve minutes, bills, and employment as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Allison. Questions or comments? Oh, okay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. All right, we are going to move on to Educational Program Committee report. There was no action taken, but as is the tradition of Ed Program, we had some good discussion. Ellen is not able to be here tonight, but Amy is going to give us a summary, and then other committee members on Ed Program, please jump in.
The Ed Program Committee met on September 9th, and we reviewed the Academic Services Wildly Important Goal for 24-25, where we highlighted 3 main areas that we'll focus on. The first being authentic teacher collaboration, guaranteed and viable curriculum, and high-quality teaching and learning. We also heard a summer school update, the conversation about increasing programming to meet the needs of more students. And we finally heard a recap of the summer staff curriculum update, ensuring the board that we were in line with the curriculum cycle, as well as how the proposals went, and with prior acceptance from academic services.
Thank you. Is there anything else that we should add? It's a short summary, but it's a very succinct summary, but we did talk about a lot of things here. It was really exciting to be able to hear the good work that was happening during summer school to meet the needs of our kids academically, as well as summer enrichment opportunities, and the considerable work that our staff did in terms of summer curriculum work to be ready for summer, for fall. So that was great. All right, Mike, I'll turn to you for finance and facilities.
All right, the finance facilities met on Monday, September 9th. The first thing on our agenda was an update on our project, facilities project that's happening in the community, in our schools. We had Ray on via web, Zoom call, and had an update from them, kind of walk through where we were in the process. We're starting to see things happen. I don't know if anybody's been to the high school in the last couple of days, but first the ground has been broken. The tennis courts have been removed, and we're making progress on that. We reviewed the high school, kind of some of the plans for the high school and for the multi-purpose room that we're putting in. We reviewed the bus garage and kind of the status on that. Those 2 projects will be starting here in the next 6 months, kind of after the first of the year. We're waiting on our bid process. We're gonna get going, but here fairly soon, and try to catch the vendors before they've submitted bids for other people, and kind of get it early in the process versus waiting longer. And so we think we've got a good plan in place there with our architects and Kraus Anderson, our construction managers. So, you want to add?
Just a reminder that we have those updates posted on the web page, the facilities updates web page. So those are there for anyone to review as well.
All right. Next on our agenda was the CNC router purchase approval. We did approve that at the meeting, and that is a piece of equipment that is vital to that program. Our Renaissance Academy has had a piece of equipment like that for 15 years. 12 to 15 years. The last one we purchased was used that we bought on the scrap heap, and it has finally given up and can't buy parts for it anymore. It has become a critical part of that school. They use it for to build products. They have a little business surrounded around it. They learn about business practices. They learn about manufacturing. They prepare kids that are going out in the community and looking for machinist jobs or working in factories, and it's a piece of equipment that's universally used in a lot of different industries, and really helps these kids prepare for that if that's what they decide to do, and want to go into manufacturing as part of their career. So.
And for many years to come, so it'll serve the current students and then many more.
Yeah, the other piece I'd just add is Mr. Stapleton teaches a summer school class out of there that's available to not just Renaissance Charter Academy students, but also high school students, so it's used over the summer. And like you said, the plan would be that this would be a purchase that would last for many, many years.
All right. We've already had our annual meeting, but we also then reviewed the booklet, the annual meeting booklet. We reviewed that, went through the budget, went through the different things that we would be talking about at the annual meeting, so we just kind of reviewed that. And that went through a revenue limit worksheet that helps us look at how she works and works on her budget and gets it ready for next year. Do you want to, I don't know, are you going to go through that at all?
Oh, I'd love to, line by line. Yeah, absolutely.
This is Lynette's favorite thing.
I may have mentioned that a couple of times. No, I think it was just a good exercise. I don't know that anyone could turn around and re-explain it line by line to everyone, but I thought it was a good exercise for us to just see how all of those figures sort of come together. And just a reminder, so we did actually get the certified equalized values today. So DOR's deadline is October 1st. They came out a day early, so all of us business manager nerds are busy crunching those numbers already. We'll get that final piece, which is our aid, our certified state aid, and then we'll have all the pieces we need to adopt the original budget for the 24-25 school year. So we're getting close.
How'd they look?
Values went up just slightly from what the estimates were. Yeah, so, yeah, yep.
We make some assumptions, and until we get the final numbers from the state, it's really hard to pinpoint exactly where we are as far as our budget for next
Right,
year.
right. And what I forgot to mention is the other critical piece is our enrollment, our pupil count. So the third Friday count was September 20th, I believe. That was a Friday. And so those need to be certified to DPI on Wednesday, and then that's what they will use as well to give us our certified state aid.
So you're getting the placeholders for the formula.
Right.
Complicated process.
Yeah.
Then on our agenda was the WIG goals, the important goals that Lynette has for the Finance and Facilities Department and her goals for the year. So, we'll review those and talk about those at all, or?
Yeah, just to reiterate what Dave has already mentioned, our biggest goal, my department's biggest goal is to track and manage the $28 million facilities projects budget. So that's our big one for the year, or for the next couple of years, actually.
And the bids for the tennis court actually came in a little bit under, I guess I forgot to mention that, so.
They did.
It came a little bit under what the budget was, so that's a good positive as you go through these. These are big projects, and when you're sitting here a year and a half in advance trying to figure out what they're gonna cost, and a lot of things happen between the time you kind of build the original budget for it to when you actually go out and get the bids. So Kraus Anderson is really good at leading us through that process and the architect and how we time when we go out for bids and who we approach and who we talk to, and including local bidders and those kinds of things, people that they've worked for in the past and have worked for us in the past that we trust and those kinds of things. So, and then we had some policy reviews, real minor things. Do we want to take a motion on those?
How about if we take a motion on the number 1 recommendation, and then we will take one motion for numbers 2 through 6, but we will go through each policy, just identifying any changes, and Dave can do that part. Is that okay? So, Mike, do you want to make a motion about number 1?
So move.
All right, to purchase the CNC router for the Renaissance Academy Technology Education Program. Thank you, Mike. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bo. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion is carried. All right, so Dave, do you want to walk us through? At this point, we have policies in front of us that we will just walk through. So we'll start with 611, financial management.
And so, Lynette, were there any adjustments from the meeting till now that you would want to highlight on 611?
I would say Other than naming out the Star Observer and Pierce County Journal,
Yep.
I think everything else basically remained the same.
So that's 611. And if we flip to 652, that's the next one that I have. I don't believe there are any adjustments to that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So does the board have any questions on 652? Okay, then 653, this might be the world's shortest policy. So I don't think there was any changes to that one.
I think we added the word all
All gate
for
receipts.
all gate read.
Shall, it's will.
Okay. So that's 653. Moving on to 662.1, that's the activities fund. Any changes to that one?
Yeah, I think we spelled out that procedures as determined by the Director of Finance and Facilities, and that came up in the first and third paragraph, just naming who gets to do those procedures.
Responsible for-
Right.
I like you put the positive in, who gets to do it.
Who gets to, yeah, who has the honor.
All right, so that's 62.1, and 662.3. Nothing, anything? From the committee?
Not from
meeting?
the finance meeting, no. Everything stayed the same. I think we added a period
Very minor.
somewhere.
So at this point, is there a motion to approve the first reading of revised school board policy 611, financial management, 652, investment income, 653, gate receipts and admissions, 662.1, student activity funds management, and 662.3, fund balance? Is there, thank you, Lindsay. Is there a second? Thanks, Mike. Any questions or comments? As is the board's policy, this will come back to the board for a second reading before it takes effect. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. All right, the Personnel Committee met on September 23rd, and I will outline what we discussed there. We approved some updates to policies that we will get to. We also talked about and heard a certified staffing update, where we are in terms of the hiring process. We also talked about new teacher and staff orientation. We had a considerable conversation about that, the procedures that they used, the topics that they covered, but also the feedback that we received from those groups in terms of how helpful the orientations were. We also talked about some changes to our core mentorship program, or our teacher mentorship program, where we are shifting from having new teachers be mentored by someone who is specifically in their content area to a group of people who are specifically trained to do the work of mentorship. So they may or may not match someone's content area, but what they bring to the relationship is a deep understanding of ways of mentoring people. Nate, do you want to add anything to that?
I guess the only thing that I would add, and it goes along with what you said, is that we, just like in the Ed Program Report, wanting to have a guaranteed and viable curriculum, we want to ensure that all of our new staff get the same kind of training and support and mentorship in their first couple of years here in our district. And the best way for us to do that is to take some of the best teachers, to train them, to bring them together, to have them help develop the program, and then utilize the program with our new staff over the course of several years in a row. So rather than maybe having 65 mentors over 2 or 3 years, we're going to have 29 or 30 mentors that will stay the same for 2 or 3 years.
Thank you. I think it's also important to realize that when we talk about orientation, it wasn't only teachers. As important as it is to mentor our teachers or to orient them, it's also for bus drivers and for our staff, so that we have a common understanding of how we do the district's work. Anything else from anybody who was at the meeting? We're going to go through the same process. I will ultimately take one motion for the first readings of these revised policies, but Dave's going to ask if we have any questions and point out some.
I don't believe
Changes.
523.11, Nate, did we have any adjustments or updates from our first reading on that policy?
I did add one additional legal reference, which was the Uniform Controlled Substance Act, Chapter 961. So we did have some conversation about the phrase controlled substance or controlled drugs. It's a commonly used phrase. It's used in several surrounding districts. I checked with New Richmond, Hudson, and Eau Claire. It's pretty common. There's, within this act, they classify various drugs into one of 5 different classes, and we're talking about either illegal substances or prescription drugs that are being used without a prescription. And that's what this category falls into. So that was an area that I was asked to check into, so I did, and that's my report on that.
So we're leaving the language the same.
Correct.
So the next one is 533.1, criminal background investigation.
Yep, and one of the things that we added to that particular policy was a listing of potential consequences for staff who may not report if one of the items that's listed happens to occur with them. That would be unfortunate, of course, but they are obligated to come to us and tell us if that happens, and then listing in alignment with our handbook that there can be consequences for either not reporting, or even if they do report, depending upon what the activity was that they were engaged in, there could be consequences for that as well. I did also add a cross-reference to our employee handbook, and so the language is very similar now in the policy and in the handbook.
Okay, and then the last one was 860, visitors to the school district buildings.
Yes, I don't think we made any changes to that particular policy. No, we didn't. But I guess I will say that this policy is a little bit of a difficult policy to write because we want to maintain a balance between a warm and welcoming school community for all of our stakeholders to be a part of with us, while also maintaining safety for our students and staff. And we believe we can do both, but we wanted to outline how we were doing that within the framework of this policy.
Thank you. So at this point, is there a motion to approve first reading of revised school board policy 523.11, school bus driver alcohol and drug testing, board policy 533.1, criminal background investigation, and board policy 860 regarding visitors to school district buildings?
So moved.
Thank you, Allison. That was Monica. All right. Any additional conversation, questions, or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. All right, and we have an issue that we need to go back and make some adjustments. So Dave is going to walk us through this.
So a couple weeks ago at our annual meeting, a community member raised a question about the minutes from a special board meeting that took place on August 30th of 2022. Specifically, their question related to action item number 1. And so the action item, I'm just going to read what the action item was listed as. And it was consideration and/or action to approve the lease agreement, including all exhibits thereto, between the School District of River Falls and RF Ren Project LLC for the lease of real property for a public school within an initial lease term of 20 years. So that was what the action was to be taken. The minutes, and this is where there was the discrepancy, were as follows. Holbrook moved, seconded by Curtis, to execute and deliver the lease agreement, including all exhibits thereto, between the School District of River Falls and, here's where the discrepancy is, River City Roundabout LLC for the lease of real property for the public school within an initial lease term of 20 years, consistent with Wisconsin State Statute. Motion passed 5-0. Schultz and Miller abstained. So like I said, the discrepancy is in the action item. The lease agreement is described as SDRF and RF Ren Project LLC, and in the written minutes, the lease agreement is described as between SDRF and River City Roundabout. So what I want to do for the board is play the video from the meeting, and as you'll see in the video, you'll hear Stacy read the following action for consideration, and when she reads the action, what is being voted on is a lease agreement between the School District of River Falls and the RF Ren Project LLC. So we're going to play that video and then make a recommendation to revise the minutes to reflect what was actually voted on.
Which is the correct name.
Correct.
We read the correct name.
Yep.
It just accidentally got recorded improperly, so our action was exactly as it should have been.
All right, we are going to go right in to the discussion for action to approve the lease agreement, including all exhibits merged between the school district of River Falls and the RF Rent Project LLC for the lease of real property for a public school in the
all the way to the vote.
20 years. At this point, we have the motion to read. Thank you, Cindy. Is there a second? Thank you, Lindsay. Any discussion? We have just completed an election.
Okay. So the vote that was taken was on what was read. And that video, if you wanted to watch the entire video, is available. It's on both the Finance and Facilities page as well as in our normal board book. So it's pretty easily accessible. So we look at it we see it as a clerical error, and we want to be transparent that that error stems from the fact that both of the entities described are owned by the same developer. So there was some confusion there. So we wanted to make sure that the minutes were accurate. Had a conversation with legal counsel. Okay, so how do we do this? We have a video, and he recommended that we play the video and then have the board take a vote to revise the minutes to accurately reflect what was voted on. So at this point, if the board would like to consider it, what you would be doing is you're voting to revise the minutes to reflect the correct LLC to be RF Ren Project and not River City Roundabout. So that's what you would be voting on, is to revise those minutes.
So we need a motion.
Yes, and please read the whole thing.
I would make a motion to revise the August 30th, 2022 minutes from the special board meeting to reflect approval of the lease agreement with the River Falls Ren Project LLC.
Thank you, Allison. Is there a second? Thank you, Monica. Any discussion? We're simply correcting a simple error because we did it the right way at the beginning. All is in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried.
I will abstain
You-
again.
So I'm passing this at 5-0. And you are abstaining, Mike, because you abstained from the original
Right.
vote. Thank you. All right, and now we're going to jump right back into policy. So we will go through the system again, just like we've been doing, and then I will take one motion for all of the recommendations.
Just check it. So the first batch here are first readings. So for the board, this is the first time that we've had discussion. And in the 100 series, we don't have committee work prior to it. So if you have questions or if we want to slow down and go through anything, we can. So the first one is 153, which is evaluation of school board operations. The updates here are pretty minor. I think the only piece is just a sentence that indicates that we're adhering to a policy governance framework, which we think gives us flexibility to make that work ours. But I'm also describing that that's our framework. Any questions on that? So the next one is 161, and that's school board member authority. And again, mostly slight adjustments, except a piece at the bottom that clarifies the role of school board. So I'm just going to read that one. So it's on record. So school board members will work cooperatively with stakeholders. Those stakeholders are listed. And when stakeholders voice an issue or idea, the school board member will encourage them to relay it to the district according to the chain of command. It is not the role of a school board member to individually solve an issue or implement an idea. Members are expected to keep the superintendent apprised of issues in the district, and the superintendent is expected to follow up on issues or ideas from stakeholders and school board members with the appropriate administrator. Personnel complaints received by a school board member will be directed to the superintendent. That is not in misalignment to what the expectations are, but we just didn't see it in policy anywhere, and we wanted to make sure that that was understood. Okay, hearing nothing else, we'll move to 162, which is new school board member orientation. Again, the information here is very aligned to the processes that we've had, so we just added some language to clarify some pieces. And in having a conversation with one board member, we wanted to clarify number 5 to make sure that there wasn't any sniff in number 5 that somehow we would inadvertently be inviting the new board member-elect to inadvertently create a quorum. So the way it reads now, in the packet, it says, the member-elect or appointed member may initiate conferences with school board members and the administration to discuss or to become current on district matters. And so inadvertently, a new board member might be like, hey, well, we'll have a gathering of 3 or 4 or 5 people, not understanding that that would be not what we want. We can't have that unless those meetings are posted. So the recommendation is just to put that in the singular, right? So the member-elect or appointed member may initiate conferences with a school board member or a school administrator to discuss district matters. So we want a new board member to have an opportunity to have a conversation with a fellow board member about operations. We don't want them to inadvertently do something that would be not aligned to practice. So that was a clarification that when we come back for the second reading, we would update that language if there's no other questions on that one.
I'll just add that in order to support our new board member orientation, the most recent time we had new board members come in, we created a packet of materials, including a document that Lindsay had worked on, some information that Dave put together, so that we were really being very systematic about the information that we were providing.
Okay, so moving on to 163, school board conferences, conventions, and workshops. The only addition, other than just to kind of cleaning up some language, was that we may hold internal trainings or retreats for professional growth. So just clarifying that that's another way that we grow. And then 163.1, just grammar edits there. And the same thing with 164, compensation and expenses, no changes, just grammar updates. And then 132.
That's the next batch.
That's the next batch we've moved on to. So now these are second readings.
So I'll take a motion with the first batch now. All right, is there a motion now to approve the first reading of revised School Board Policy 153, Evaluation of School Board Operations, School Board Policy 161, School Board Member Authority, School Board Policy 162, New School Board Member Orientation, School Board Policy 163, School Board Conferences, Conventions, and Workshops, School Board Policy 163.1, School Board Memberships, and School Board Policy 164, School Board Member Compensation and Expenses.
I have a question on that.
Yes.
When we're making the motion, would you like us to reflect the updated language on 161?
Yes.
So this is the first reading.
So we don't have to say anything?
I think you could note,
could.
update the reflected language.
Then I would like to make that motion reflecting the updated language as recommended by Superintendent Bell on Policy 161.
Thank you, Lindsay. So you got that, Amanda, for the minutes? Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. All right, last batch for tonight, and these are second reading.
Say that more time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't understand if you were. Okay, 132, that is school board member resignation. So I don't have any other updates from the last reading, so Does anybody have any questions on that one? So then we move to one,
Is there a separate policy on how the numbers?
yes.
Yes.
Yep, and
Yes.
we'll come back to that one. We don't have that yet. We don't have an update. We have a policy on it.
Yeah, we have
just don't.
Yep.
Okay, so 141 is school board officers. And in talking with Lindsay, we want to, there's a clarification or update that we don't think is material, but we want to make sure that everybody understands, and it more accurately reflects the work of the clerk in regards to minutes. And so duties of the clerk, number one, in the first reading, we said keeps accurate minutes of all school board meetings and enters minutes into the official record book of the district. A more accurate statement to our practice is that the clerk is responsible for verifying the school board meeting minutes created by the administrative assistant to the superintendent and entering minutes into the official record book of the district. So my recommendation is everything else is the same, but that would be an adjustment that we would make. So we can do one of two things. We can make the adjustment and count this as the second reading. If the board wants me to come back, we could do a second reading next month. Either one is fine. It's really up to the board on how they want to do that.
Does anybody have a preference? I think it's pretty minor, and I think it's a further clarification of what our practice currently is. So I think that we can go ahead for a second reading, but we will note in the motion.
So that's 141. 142, I have no updates from the first reading. 151, I have no new updates from the first reading. And 151.2, I have no new updates. And 151.3, I have no new updates.
Okay, so is there a motion adding in verbiage about the adjustment in the second one related to 141, school board officers? So moved. All right, thank you, Monica. So that you are moving the second reading of these policies and then with the adjustment as recommended by the superintendent to policy 141. All right, is there a second? Did I already do that? Bo, no? Okay, so Bo, are you seconding it? Thank you. All right, good. Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Do you see how we're just moving right along on these policies? Yeah.
There seems to be,
It's exciting.
what's missing tonight?
Oh, that was hardcore.
Huh? Oh. That was just a joke. Don't tell Alan I said that.
He's probably watching.
Oh, sorry, Alan. Wherever you are.
We love you anyway, right? Okay. All right. Do we have any proposed or suggested items for future board meeting agendas? All right. Oh, where's the second part of my, we are going to schedule upcoming meetings, and the Educational Program Committee will meet Monday, October 7th at 6 o'clock. Sorry, I don't know my mind. Personnel will meet Monday, October 14th at 6. Finance and Facilities will meet Monday, October 14th at 7 or immediately following personnel. And the next regular board meeting will be Monday, October 21st, again at 7 o'clock because that works better for, yes, we're expecting another win. And I'm reminding everybody that the Board of Education and City Council joint meeting that we do on an annual basis will be Monday, October 28th at 6 o'clock at River Falls High School. It is our turn to host this year. So that's a really nice tradition that we have with the city. And with that,
Is that, what time is that at?
what did I say? 6 o'clock. Yeah.
Should we allocate part of the regular meeting to discussing what do we actually want to accomplish at that meeting? What do we want to talk with the city about? What would
Good idea.
That's good. Amanda already shared with me the last agenda, and I had thought I would have a conversation with Scott Simpson, but I really like, it would be nice to have that discussion first before I meet with Scott.
Yeah,
So I like that.
last year was a great update, but it really wasn't a discussion about.
So part of that, we're going to be able to impact because it's a Monday night, and this meeting is not right before the city council meeting. Usually, we have that hard deadline, so hopefully this time we can have some more conversation. So the structure is on purpose. 6.
Because maybe we want to have like little refreshment and conversation.
We will. Yeah. Yeah. All right, meeting